A semi-official Iranian news agency has claimed that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy fired 2 missiles at a U.S. Navy frigate attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz on Monday, escalating tensions in one of the world's most critical transit routes. According to Fars news agency, the U.S. vessel had sailed near the southern Iranian port of Jask and was trying to cross the strait in what Iran described as a violation of maritime security protocols. The report said Iranian forces issued warnings before launching missiles when the ship allegedly failed to comply. It further claimed the frigate was hit and forced to retreat from the area. However, the account has been strongly disputed by the United States. A senior U.S. official cited by Axios denied that any American naval vessel had been stuck, casting doubt on Iran's version of the events. Now remember, Iran has long maintained that movement through the Strait of Hormuz requires its oversight and has repeatedly warned of a decisive response to any perceived violations.
Fears of renewed military operations between the U.S. and Iran rose on Monday over the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state TV said on Monday its navy had forced a U.S. warship to turn back from entering the crucial waterway. The semi-official Fars news agency said 2 missiles struck the warship near the port of Jask, where Iran maintains a naval base. But U.S. Central Command quickly denied any of its boats had been struck. A senior Iranian official told Reuters that a warning shot was fired against a U.S. warship to prevent its entry into the strait. Reuters has been unable to independently verify the claims. The contradicting accounts come after President Donald Trump said the U.S. would start an effort on Monday morning to free ships stranded in the strait, calling it a, quote, humanitarian gesture. In response to Trump's announcement, Tehran told commercial ships and oil tankers to refrain from any movement that was not coordinated with Iran's military. CENTCOM on Monday said its destroyers had escorted 2 U.S.-flagged merchant vessels out of the strait and that, quote, American forces are actively assisting efforts to restore transit for commercial shipping. Iran has blocked nearly all shipping into and out of the Gulf since it was attacked by the U.S. and Israel at the end of February. That closure cut off around a fifth of the world's oil and gas shipments and sent oil prices soaring by 50% or more. The United States and Israel suspended attacks on Iran 4 weeks ago, and U.S. and Iranian officials held a round of face-to-face talks. Iranian state media said on Sunday Washington had conveyed its response to a 14-point Iranian proposal via Pakistan and that Tehran was now reviewing it. Neither side gave details.
Now remember, Iran had earlier warned U.S. forces against entering the Strait of Hormuz, escalating tensions in the region. The warning came after Donald Trump said Washington would launch a new operation to free ships stranded in the Gulf, describing it as a humanitarian move to assist neutral countries caught in the ongoing conflict involving Iran and U.S.-Israeli forces.
U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington will begin a new operation to free ships stranded in the Strait of Hormuz on Monday. He's calling it a humanitarian gesture to help neutral countries caught up in the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. Soon after his comments, however, there were reports of a tanker being attacked, while Iran warned the U.S. Navy to stay clear of the area. Tehran has blocked nearly all shipping from the Gulf for more than 2 months. Last month, Washington responded by imposing its own blockade on ships leaving Iranian ports. In a Sunday post on Truth Social, Trump said the United States had told affected countries it would guide their ships safely out of restricted waters so they could get back to business. It was not immediately clear which countries the U.S. would aid or how the plan would work, though Trump warned that any interference with the operation would be met forcefully. It all comes as Iran reviews a U.S. response to its latest peace proposal. State media say Washington's reply was delivered through Pakistan, though this has not been confirmed by U.S. officials. Tehran has proposed ending the war and resolving the standoff over Gulf shipping first, while pushing talks on its nuclear program to a later stage. Trump has signaled he is unlikely to accept that, saying Iran has not yet paid what he calls a sufficient price. The United States and Israel halted airstrikes on Iran 4 weeks ago and held 1 round of talks, but efforts to resume negotiations have stalled. Washington has insisted Iran must accept strict limits on its nuclear program before the war can end, including giving up its stockpile of highly enriched uranium, a demand Iran rejects. The standoff has driven a surge in global energy costs, with about a fifth of the world's oil and gas normally flowing through the Strait of Hormuz.
And you just heard US President Donald Trump has said he is unlikely to accept a new peace proposal from Iran, even though he has not yet reviewed its full details. In a social media post, Trump argued that Iran has not yet paid a big enough price for its actions over the past decade, suggesting Washington is not ready to ease pressure. His remarks come amid rising tensions after he publicly floated the possibility of restarting US airstrikes on Iran, raising a tougher stance rather than a move towards de-escalation.
They told me about the concept of the deal.
U.S. President Donald Trump said he had yet to review the exact wording of a new Iranian peace proposal, but that he was unlikely to accept it. The reason, Trump said in a weekend social media post, was that Iran had, quote, not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity and the world over the last 47 years. Trump's post came after he publicly mused about the possibility of restarting airstrikes on Iran.
If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But, you know, it's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
Trump's remarks are the latest mixed signal on the prospect of ending the war he launched more than 2 months ago. Iran has said that peace talks with Washington cannot resume unless a ceasefire also holds in Lebanon between Israel and Iranian-backed Hezbollah. Lebanon and Israel agreed to a truce last month, but fighting has continued on a smaller scale. The Israeli military on Sunday urged residents in southern Lebanon to evacuate due to operations against Hezbollah after what it said was a violation of their ceasefire agreement. On Saturday, a senior Iranian official said Iran's peace proposal would first open shipping in the Strait of Hormuz and end a U.S. blockade of Iran, while leaving talks on Iran's nuclear program for later. Iran's proposal to delay nuclear talks appears to contradict Washington's repeated demand that Iran give up its stockpile of highly enriched uranium as a condition to end the war.
Now, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Esmaeil Baghaei said the U.S. response to Tehran's 14-point peace proposal is still under review as both sides consider next steps. Speaking in Tehran, Baghaei stressed that current negotiations are focused solely on ending the war, dismissing speculation that issues like uranium enrichment or nuclear materials are part of the talks. He added that future directions will be decided later, urging Washington to avoid using threatening language as diplomatic efforts continue. Listen in.
با عمان کشورهای ساحلی تنگه هرمز هستیم و طبیعتاً برای اطمینان از تردد ایمن کشتیرانی باید پروتکل یا سازوکار مشخصی رو تدوین بکنیم.